Hey everyone, Sat here. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to fix this problem where you move a image off of your screen and the tracked image stays there. So instead of that QR staying, we want it to also vanish since we're no longer focused on the image, which is what I'm showing you here. So this is the improved version. I'm using the flower image here. So I'm pointing at the flower image, and I also can put the QR image there as well. But if I move one of them, if I remove it off the screen, that image also goes away and the details at canvas also vanish as well, which is kind of the way I think a lot of us expected this to work the first time we ran AR tracking. You remove the image, the image that you're tracking, and the trackable surface along with that prefab that you called up would also vanish, but that didn't work. But here you go, here's the fix for it. So some quick housekeeping. First, I'm using Unity 2019.2, and here is the version of ARFoundation and AR Core and AR Kit and so on. I've only tested this on AR Core though, on my phone, Android phone, just so you know. I'd be interested if anyone tries this out on iOS though, to see if this works as well. Okay, so I've got the standard ARFoundation, the latest pull from GitHub, and I'm working with that project. You can look back at my previous video of how to get that, and I'm just opening up the standard default image tracking scene that comes as standard with that, and I'm gonna fix this entire thing with by just changing 3 lines of code. Actually, it took me a while to figure out, but I used, just so you know, I used that hierarchy inspector tool from the asset store that I mentioned in the previous tutorial. That really helped me to kind of break this down. In the original version, there is some code. I'll show you that here. This code shows well, updates the canvas when we point at the image. It has update info, and it updates that tracked image information. So what it does is it finds that prefab that comes with this tracked image prefab. Let me open this up so we can look at a bit more detail. So it takes this image prefab and then it looks for the canvas by just looking at the children and finding that component, and there's only one canvas component, so it just finds that, and then it updates the text of that by looking for a text object inside of that as well, and then it updates the text information about that, and then it also looks at the first child of that game object, which is the plain parent object. Then it looks at the first object of that as well, first child object of that, which is plain, and it turns that off if the tracking state is equal to none. Well, if it's equal to none, which is would call this else statement, and your original code would say plain go.setActive to false. I've got a few lines of code here. This is basically the updated version. I'll talk you through how I did that in a second, but let me just explain to you how this is basically working. Now what I noticed, and this is kind of interesting, is on our image we have, on our canvas image, when I'm pointing my phone at the image that I'm tracking, so let's say this flower image, the canvas details, this tracked image information that comes up, it shows us what the tracked state is, and that tracking state is tracking, which is what we'd expect since we're pointing at the image. Now if I hide that image, so you can see in this screenshot that I've got here, the actual tracking state changes to limited. So it doesn't actually change to none, which is what I would have thought it would say, since we're not really tracking it anymore, but it changes to limited. And that's why in this screenshot you can see at an angle, because that was the last image that it had of it. At that angle, when I was minimizing that image off of the screen, it kind of looks like a slanted image. but it's limited and it's still on the screen, and we don't want that. So the lines of code that we really want to change is, the first one is we want to change this line of code here to say, instead of not equal to tracking state none, we also want to add in and tracked image dot tracking state is not equal to tracking state dot limited. So if it's not equal to tracking state none and not equal to tracking state dot limited, the information about that image, then we want to set the plane to true, the tracked image. We basically want to continue following that image, which is, this is all, well, on the surface level it seems okay, but it's not quite right. The reason why is because if when I tested this out on my phone and I did plain, and I left the code as it was, plain go.set active, as I mentioned before, plain go is actually this here, so it turns off this tracked image here, which is the flower, but we still have the canvas there. So one way to fix that could be to actually turn the canvas off as well. But I thought a better way to do that would be actually to just switch off the whole tracked image there. So that's the second change that I've got. So the first change was just add this to limited. So we're also checking to if it's not limited, then do it, and if it is limited, then we want to switch off that tracked image state. That's tracked image. Set it to false. And then the other thing is, when we are pointing at it and the tracked state is not limited and it's not none, so in that case it would be tracking, then we want to put this to set active is true, and that's it really. And the other thing I'll just do is comment that code out, because we don't need that now since we're not really switching this off. And that is the only change I made. And then the images now go off and on only when they're pointing at the image. If you hide that image, the image tracking gets lost and everything switches off. I hope that helps. I think it's a fairly simple piece of code. So I think that's not too bad. The tracked image state information that I opened up was this one here, tracked image info manager. So yeah, I'm gonna do a few more tutorials on well, I think I will. I don't want to make any promises. I think I'll do a few more on image tracking and that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll do one on starting a video, so we'll see. But leave a like and a comment if you like this. Check out the ARFoundation course on Udemy as well if you're interested in some simple placement stuff. And yeah, keep on coding, and I'll see you soon.